I hope this works out all right. I'm going to have to go outside and to two other stoves. But a lot of you out there have been wanting me to tell you about wood burning cook stoves. Some of you have been interested in getting one. And I'm going to tell you what to look for and how to use one also. This is a Kalamazoo wood stove. This one here, I believe, was made in 1935. If you go through the ceiling, you have to have a zero clearance box, and you can go up with single wall, but you have to put sheetrock and then concrete board and a reflector behind it. Now this is a stove. It's the President was the top of the line model for the Kalamazoo Stove Company. Here is actually the front cover. Kalamazoo President, Kalamazoo, Michigan, 8/18/1935. Now, that goes right there. You that are repairing these stoves have to understand something. This is cast iron. This is cast iron. The oven in this stove is solid cast iron. That's one of the things that makes the President different than all the others. You can't take steel and repair cast iron with it. That's not possible. Now, I see a lot of people, but go back to that for a moment. You can't repair cast iron with steel, put steel plates on it or whatever. Steel expands quite a bit. Cast iron, very hardly any as it expands. So it will rip it and tear it apart. It's like putting new cloth on old cloth when it wasn't sanitarized. I see a lot of people loading their stoves from the front here, putting their wood in there and starting the fire from the front. If you're doing that, that means that you don't have the firebox block in your stove. And you'll burn all of this up. You'll destroy all this enamel if you don't have that in there. Now I'm going to open this up here. Put that back on. That goes down there. I'm going to open this up. This is a real Kalamazoo stove lifter. This part of it here you can use it with a shaker. Okay, it'll shake it down. The ashes. Now let's look at the firebox on the front. This firebox, the inserts in this thing cost me more than $1,000. When I bought this stove, I got it pretty cheap. Shipping was almost $1,000 from Michigan. And it didn't have any liner in it at all. What liner it had was steel, and I'm glad that they didn't use it very much after that because they would have burned the cast iron oven up. Here, you can see there are three plates in there. There's a plate in the front, there's a plate in the back, and then you have the plate on the left-hand side. All these plates need to be in there for your stove to be operated safely. If you don't have them in there, look and see if you can find somebody with them. What I had to do, I had to buy the firebox liner, and then I sent it back to Tomahawk Foundry in Wisconsin, I believe, and they made copies of it for me. I sent some of these back, and I made copies of these because I had original Kalamazoo stove lifter. Now there's all kinds of them. You can, when you got your fire going, you can put pieces of wood in here or coal, like that. You can go like that. Now I'm going to show you two other stoves today. This is your intake right here. That's where you adjust your intake for your fire to burn hotter or whatever. On the President model, you have a lever here. This if you push it up one notch, that shuts the damper off a little bit. If you go full notch there, that makes the fire go over the oven, down the back side of the oven, underneath the back oven, and then out. So that way your oven is completely surrounded in fire. And these stoves cook better than any convection oven there is. Now over here, I always keep a steam pot on here. I didn't start the fire this morning because I was going to do this video. Now this has got a plate on top of it, solid plate, cast iron, and if you look very closely, you can see the polish marks. When this stove was built in 1935, they took a polisher, the whole top of the stove comes off. They would take that and they would take a buffer and polisher, and they would polish and grind the top of the stove and make everything smooth on it. Now let's go back to the oven. Down in the oven there's a clean out thing right there, as you can see. That is a clean out where you can scrape the ashes out of the bottom of it. Now here is a ash pan. Now down in here, over to the right side here, there's a spring in there. And that spring hooks onto an oven lever, and it goes from the bottom of the stove where you tighten it up, and it kicks the door, and it makes the door stay shut. There's a clip up there, and the oven stays shut, and then it won't fall down. See, there's a spring in there. Now, the President model only, as far as I know, has this lever here that keeps the oven door from falling all the way down. The President only, as far as I know, had that. Now here is your ash pan. Marilyn never wanted me to have one of these in the house down in California because she said it was too messy. But we did have a fireplace insert. I had Mike Guandine at Peach Sheet Metal make that door for me about 40 or 50 years ago. Now this goes in front of that, like that. Then this door. Now this door is not from a President. This is a Kalamazoo Liberty model. Liberty model is cast iron, the top and around the stove and everything, but the oven and everything are not cast iron. Now this has been repaired before. That's the way it closes. Here's your oven. You have a thermometer on front. This comes off, and you can use this little tool here to scrape the ashes out of here, and then I use a vacuum cleaner to vacuum them. You can scrape them all out and put them in a pan, the ash pan there. But that reaches way back in there, and you scrape all of that out. This is kind of a storage cabinet. Originally, this had a water heater basin in there, or a copper tray, and here, right here, it had a nozzle coming out, a spigot, where you could fill up things. You poured water in this thing and kept it full, and there where you got your hot water. This is before water heaters. Also, I don't have it in here, I should have got it, but on that side right there, where you see that Firebox liner, Kalamazoo made a hollow one like that, about that thick. And it had a pipe going in and pipe coming out of it in the back. And this is before they had gas or electric water heaters. There are the holes back here where they go in and out, whether you can see those or not. I had to get those covers because they weren't on this stove. Now when you install your stove, you need to put a flue damper someplace down here close. That'll keep the heat in the stove and keep your wood from burning so fast and so quickly, and also make the stove a lot hotter. Now we'll go here. We'll put this back together. I don't have any wood in there right now. Now on here is your shaker notch right there, but you can have a shaker. This is a Kalamazoo shaker also. And that goes on here, right down there, and you can shake all the ashes down. Like that. Now let's look at some of these tools here. These are extra little things. When you're cooking beans or something you want to cook slow, you use this little device here, and you move it around on the stove where it's hotter or whatever. And then if you got something, you're cooking beans on that, then you go over here and you got something you just want to keep warm. Warmer than if it was in the warming oven. These are the warming ovens. These warming ovens can go up to 175 degrees or so. You can put your bread in there and let it rise, whatever you want to do with that. Right now it is setting at about 75 degrees. You can put things up here. I like these that are come down like this because you can set a plate here as you're working on things, when you're cooking. Anyway, this is the top of the stove for a stove that does not, they don't want to use the water heater basin there. Now we're going to walk around. Now you that have watched us do all of this building here since we've been here. This is our front room. There will be a dining table down there with a china cabinet. And then we're going to have some, this is our wood-burning cook stove kitchen. There will be cabinets right here and above there and above there and a cabinet counter right over there. And this will be our wood-burning cook stove kitchen. And of course in the house we have a regular gas range and an oven and everything in there, but I'd rather cook on this if I can. Remember now, also, this is another thing that Kalamazoo has that some of the other stoves don't have. If you want to put some big wood in here, you can take, and the fire's burning now, you can put that big log in there. A lot of people would take that one and that one out, that firebox liner and that firebox liner, so they can have great big wood in there, but then the back of the stove burns out, the oven burns out, the front of the stove will crack and burn. Now when I bought this stove from Michigan, basically Kalamazoo, Michigan, an old couple had bought it brand new, and it said they're advertising on the front of the Kalamazoo's Kalamazoo direct to you. You would mail order this and it'd come to you. Now when I bought this stove, there was no chips or cracks on it at all. In shipping, no matter, it cost me nearly $1,000 for shipping, they cracked the oven right there. I had to have Tom Schrader, which is a fantastic welder. He took that and repaired that for me, and then did a lot of repair on different things. This was the original firebox door on the front of it. Some people don't even have that on there. But when you don't have that, it just burns the stove up. These chips were all in shipping. I'm going to try to get them repaired. And the warming ovens are in pretty good shape. So anyway, that'll give you some ideas. Also, this here, that is a little fan that when the stove heats up, it starts blowing a little breeze across the top of the stove and distributes throughout the house. Now some of you wanted me to give you a little update on the house here, so here it is. This is the deck on the north side of the house here. It has lights in the ceiling. There's where our chickens are out there. The wind is blowing pretty briskly today. And anyway, that roof goes all the way out. We're going to screen this in, come down from the top up there with a panel siding, and then I'll put screen in here, about 4 foot of screen on both ends, maybe even bigger on that end. And we're doing that on the south side of the house also. When you get older, you have to make things safe for you. So we can come out here and set. all on the same level here pretty much. This is some of my wood I brought in here. I'm going to have a wood rack in here later on. So there's a Kalamazoo President model. That is the highest grade model of stove that Kalamazoo. It's 48 inches wide across the top. Now we're going to go out and look in just a few moments. I will set this camera down here looking at the stove. I'll put my coat and hat on. Now here we go. Anyway, we've got more things to do here. This stove heats the whole house. It's very, very efficient. They have new airtight stoves, the Kitchen Queen and such like that, but I like the old models. There's a lot of things about them that the new ones don't have. Now the later models, or the lower models of stoves, don't have that variable flue like this one does. It's either wide open or pull up and it's shut and goes across the oven. They say build a little fire for cooking breakfast or something if you're not going to cook biscuits, and just heat the top of the stove up and it'll go straight out the flue, and then you let the fire go out in the warmer time of year. Now let's go out here and that's the stove with the kitchen there. We just sold the motorhomes, had to bring a bunch of junk in here out of there. There's where the dining room table and the china cabinet will be. Here's the deck in the front, a ramp from Maryland to go down easily, and steps that are very short too. Anyway, this is the front of the home here. Maryland likes to come out here and take sun baths. We got a generator there that when we lose electricity, we can, it automatically comes on within 5 seconds. The wind came up here and broke the window there. Just about blew the door off. We're going to come in here and we're going to look at my 50. I've had this stove for 50 years. Getting parts for these Kalamazoo stoves, since they're made in the 1930s, is very hard. Remember what I told you about, you can see the front of that stove now. This stove is in pretty good shape. It was used in a cowboy cook shack in Glenville, California. I bought it for $500, probably about somewhere around 1970. And it didn't have any warming ovens on it at all. I finally found that set of warming ovens there, and I had them shipped from Minnesota, I believe, where I got them. No, those came from Pennsylvania. Those came from the Amish. They had wrecked some stoves. There, by the way, is an ash pan. This stove here, there's a Kalamazoo President right there, cover, and there's the bottom. Here's the stove here. This one does not have that President thing there. It comes down. It's got a spring in there. And the stove and the oven is not cast iron. It's sheet metal, just like this right here. Here's the storage cabinet right there with some more things that stove tops and whatever. One thing I didn't show you in the other one is if you put this over here and you want to fry something, you just take this out, and some of the old pots and pans, they would fit right down in there. Now, I told you that the other models did not have, you just pulled it up. This one here, I drilled a hole in it where you can go halfway open on that one. Now I don't have a, excuse me for the wobbling around here, I'm changing hands, and the stove has got a bunch of junk on it because I had to move out everything out of the motorhome. This one does not have all the Firebox liner in it. Now I will not run this stove at all without a Firebox liner. I'm going to have to send my Firebox liner back to Tomahawk Foundry back there and get the parts made for it. And it'll probably cost me several $100s to do that. This one here, when I got it, did not have a Firebox liner in the front or in the rear, either one. They had used this for several years, and you can see how that beautiful porcelain just pops off of there when it gets real hot. That's what you don't want to happen. Don't want to happen. Again, you've got the coal chute right there. You can lift that whole edge up to put a large piece of wood in there. Here is the intake of that. So now there's another one, and this here is the adapter. This is the adapter that came with this stove so many years ago, over 50 years ago, and it's a 7 to 6 inch. And you got to have that or you can't hook the stove up. Here you see again an adapter. Back behind here you will see a damper up there. There's where it comes out, and that, by the way, down there, that is a water heater basin right there that goes in the stove. I have never used one of those in my stoves because I have a water heater. And I usually keep a hot water pot on the stove anyway. Whenever you do this, you use the sheetrock or the drywall is fireproof. Then I put that concrete board behind it and use non-metallic screws in there also. Anyway, this one here is set up very well. It's got a very good stand on it. I have a lot of different parts of these. This is where you use to lift in and get water out of there, or you could open that with a spigot, either one. Sorry, I got all that stuff on there. At this one here, you can still see some of the buff marks in it also. And make sure when you buy a stove, this one here, there's a little stand underneath there, a rest underneath there, support, and that was broken on this stove and hadn't been repaired. I did many, many hours of work on this stove. This is a very precious stove to me. It was I bought it over 50 years ago, and I cooked thousands of meals on it. And several hundred meals up here, maybe thousands of meals up here. Also, this is another one of the plate caps that go on there. That's for simmering there. Put it back over there or up here. And this here, you can lift it up. It stands up a little bit. See? So you can keep the pot, if you just want to simmer it, you can use like that, or else the other things that I had there. I hope that you're enjoying this and learning about this. When you get these stoves, make sure the top is level. If it's got buff marks on it, and I take a sander, an orbital sander, and I go across these. Now, in between usage of these things, I take a rag with olive oil on it and I go over the top of the stove, and that keeps it from rusting, and it also makes it shine like blue steel on a gun barrel. So there's the Kalamazoo. This is the Liberty model. This one's a little less expensive than the President. The President was the top of the line. I'll see if I can get out here without the door blowing off. We'll go around here also. See if I can get in the house on this end. This is the garage with a concrete slab in front of it. Looking back to the house, there's the front room. there's a satellite connection there, not satellite, but internet connection. We're going to go back here. I've got to put a retaining wall here. That should have been done when they built the garage, or even before they built the garage, but they didn't do it. Now we're coming around here, around the edge here. Now this is a new addition here. That's a beam going out there where Marilyn can hang her hummingbird feeders or whatever and watch them out here. There'll be opening up there about 17 inches going across with screen. This will be screen here. I got to cut that piece out. This will be screened all across here with a patio door on it, a glass door with screen on it. Now back in here, this will be like it is. Now that'll come, the screen will go across the top, and then there'll be an area up there that's all walled in. We could even put visqueen or something on this if we wanted to in the winter time. But this is a Kalamazoo Puritan model. I have one more of these stoves in California at the farm. This Kalamazoo Puritan model, this one was pretty much pristine. When I bought this, I bought it from an antique stove collector. He had several of them. And all the stove liner was in this one. I did not have one that had that. There's the stand, the support right there that's supposed to keep the top level. This stove here is absolutely in perfect condition. It had a well in there. Now you can put stuff down in there, but it doesn't have a door on it. It doesn't have warming ovens on top. It's got a warming shelf. I've got one in California with warming shelf on it. And this here, of course, you can put wood in there. You can come over here, and it doesn't have, this doesn't lift up like the higher grade models. Now if you look across the back there, you'll see the buffing marks all across the top of this stove. This stove originally had a solid cast iron one of these on top. Everything was extra on these. This one's just got the little tin top on it. But there's your griddle, and this is your oven here. And it's sheet metal inside, but it's in very good condition. Here is this. Now we had to build one of these. I sent one of these back to Kalamazoo, or not Kalamazoo, but the Tomahawk Foundry, and got it. This door fits so well. Tom Schrader built that door, and it fits so well, I just left it on there. And it says here, the Puritan model, and again, you can't put wood in there if you got your liner in there, and if you don't have it, it's going to ruin it. Anyway, this is a Puritan model. It was built in 1934. The stove was in really good condition when I got it. And it cost me nearly $1,000 to get it here. The only flaw on this stove was it really got burned up there on top sometime or another. I don't know what happened to that. But I could send that in and have that enameled and repaired. And then here in the back again, you've got either open or shut. Open like that, makes the fire go around the whole oven and to go out and back up, so the oven is just floating in flames. Now I drilled a hole right there in both of my stoves before I ever knew they did this. With the President model they do, it's got a double. But I drilled that in there, I put that thing, and then I have it half shut where it makes it a little more restricted and the heat, but not all the way shut. If you don't want it to do that to have something cooking in the oven. Well anyway, this is the Kalamazoo. As you can see now, this one here does not have the lifter that lifts this up where you can put the big wood in it. But you got a stove that doesn't have that, and the stove Firebox liner, you're risking your stove. because they will crack and split, and the enamel will bust off of them there. I hope that you've enjoyed this little update. We'll go around here to the other side, if I can get out here without falling over everything. See, we're doing a lot of work still. We still got to put the screen in, and we'll box all of that in there. And up there, we'll put lights in here. We got outlets we're going to put out here also. Of course, this is a shop. There's a lot more paneling and everything that we have to put inside, etc. But you can see what it'll be like. It'll be very comfortable for old people. And I'm old. You know, Marilyn turned 90 years old this year. She's still doing well, but we need to be safe about everything that we do. We're going to go back here now, and I know you're going to hear a lot of wind noise. There's our guest room right there, with a patio on the side of it. The AC unit we had to put in, and they almost killed me with propane. We sold the motorhome, so it's not here any longer. We still have a lot of work to do around, but we've come a long way. Geriatric pioneers. And of course, here's the northern deck and patio. There's an access door. Here's our chickens out here. Wanting my attention today. Anyway, this is the, I need to show this to you. Super big range. There's what they've been drilling all the hot wells out there to steam. Not solar, but steam, hydroelectric, and steam generated geothermal. Anyway, you can see our patio on the north side now. We can come out and do that. Some of my firewood out here. Some more towers out there too. Let's see if I can get in the house here. But it'll lock myself out, which I did. Go around and come in the front deck. They're starting to decorate the yard here a little bit. That's looking at the White Mountains. You can see we've had a lot of snow. Yesterday morning there was an inch and a half snow here in the morning. That wind is very cold. Watching the video, I hope it's helped you in your understanding wood-burning cook stoves. Much better in here, much warmer. Go back over this again a little bit over here. I'll be building a fire in here. So that right there is a President Firebox door. And these are the different things here. I don't have one of those that you turn up here because I'm not using it here. I use this or that right there instead. And when I fry something, I can just take a lid off and put the pot directly on there. I also have a barbecue pit type thing you put on top of here with a lid on it, and the fire comes up and cooks steaks or whatever you got on there on the grill in there, and it's real wood flavor. I hope I've helped you in understanding these stoves just a little bit, what to look for. You can buy a stove. If the oven is cracked inside of here, you can't get parts for these unless you know somebody that's got the parts. You can send them back to Tomahawk Factory and get them recast. But everything has to be fitted. You can buy a stove like this for $500 or $600, $800 maybe, and then you can put $5,000 in it trying to make it work. If you don't have the flue in the back, you're in trouble. The stove I bought in California, I gave $4,500 for it. Marilyn really wanted it. It's beautiful. It looked like it never had been used. It's a Puritan model. Beautiful. Turquoise and cream color. And that, like the one out there in the, like the old Kalamazoo Liberty model, the top of that was turquoise and cream. Well, that stove was just pristine, except it didn't have a firebox in it. No firebox liner. It had a gas log in it that they'd used. They'd never really run wood in it. They'd used gas in it. The flue was not all there. The doors were not there on the front. Neither door here was there at all. So I had to buy another one so I could get parts off of that other one, send them back to Tomahawk Foundry to get them made so I could make that $4,500 stove work, which ended up costing me about $6,000 or more. And we'd never used it much yet. It's still sitting in the living room down in the farmhouse. But be careful when you buy one of these. You can buy one pretty cheap. But if it's gonna be just furniture, you're just gonna look at it, that's okay. But if you're gonna use it and cook on it, make sure you do all the things that I told you. And you build the fire from the top, not from the front. You put wood in there, and then you can use charcoal lighter on it. Make sure the stove is not hot or anything when you do that. You got to be really careful. You can add your wood in there. Your long pieces of wood, of course. You can lift up this whole on these more, the better models, or the higher grade, or the more expensive models, you'll have that. Anyway, that's a pretty good stove. It really cooks great, and it really heats our whole house. Now I got to build a fire in it and make it heat the house because it's cold. Talk to you later. Thank you for your prayers and your support also, and God bless you.